Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Thobwe, and today I am going to talk about assessing grammar and vocabulary. We will explore what this means, why it is important, and how we can assess it effectively in our classrooms. Before we begin, let me ask you a question. When you hear the words grammar and vocabulary, what comes to your mind? Maybe you think of sentence rules, word meanings, or spelling. Those are a part of it, but there is much more. By the end of this session, I hope you will see that grammar and vocabulary are not just about correctness. They are about communication and meaning. Let us start with grammar. Grammar tells us how to put words together correctly so that our sentence makes sense. For example, he walked to school is not correct, but he walks to school is correct because we add an S when we talk about he, she, or it. Grammar helps us use the right word forms and sentence patterns. Vocabulary is the collection of words we know and use. It includes word meanings, spelling, and pronunciation. For example, run and jog are similar, but sprint means to run very fast. You can think of vocabulary as the building blocks and grammar as the glue that holds them together. We both need to communicate clearly. Here is a reflection question. Do you think grammar and vocabulary should be tested separately or together? Most teachers believe they should be assessed together because real communication always uses both. The reading explains that grammar and vocabulary are not just about memory. They are about how students use language in real-life situations. For example, a student might memorize all the verb tenses, but if they do not know when or how to use them, their writing and speaking will still be weak. There are two main ways to assess grammar and vocabulary. The first one is formative assessment. This happens while students are still learning. It helps teachers give feedback and make changes to improve learning. The second one is summative assessment, which happens at the end of a unit or lesson to check what students have learned. For example, give a student a short grammar quiz during the week is formative, but a big writing test at the end of the unit is summative. Both types are important because they show progress and help us understand what our students really know and can do. The reading introduced some key ideas about how students use language. First, we have receptive knowledge. This means understanding words or grammar when we listen or read. Then there is productive knowledge, which means using those words or grammar when we speak or write. Next, we have accuracy and fluency. Accuracy means using correct grammar and word forms, while fluency means using language smoothly and without too much hesitation. When we assess grammar and vocabulary, we need to look at both how correct students are and how naturally they use the language. Think about your own students for a moment. Do you have some who speak fluently but make a lot of grammar mistakes, or others who use perfect grammar but speak slowly? Both kinds of learners need different types of support and assessment to help them grow. Assessing grammar and vocabulary can be tricky, and there are several challenges we need to consider. First, some students can complete grammar drills perfectly, but they still make mistakes when speaking naturally. Second, other students may memorize new words, but then forget how to use them in real sentences. Another challenge is that standard tests often focus only on right or wrong answers, instead of showing how well students can communicate. For example, a multiple choice question might test grammar rules, but it does not tell us if a student can use those rules while writing or speaking. That is why it is important to include authentic task activities that show real language use. This could be writing a letter, describe a picture, or role-play a conversation. These kinds of tasks help us see what students can really do with the language, not just what they can memorize. Let us look at some things teachers should remember when assessing grammar and vocabulary. First, use a mix of tests and real tasks. Some tasks check memory and some show how students use language. Second, always give feedback that helps students learn from mistakes. Feedback is how students improve. Third, be fair. Remember that students come from different backgrounds and speak different first language. Fourth, use rubrics to make scoring clear and consistent for everyone. Here is a question for you. What kinds of grammar or vocabulary mistakes do your students make most often? When we notice these patterns, we can plan better lessons and assessments to support each student and help them grow. Here is a simple example of assessing grammar in the classroom. After students read a short story, the teacher can give a mini quiz. In this activity, students complete sentences using the correct verb tense. For example, the teacher might write, "Yesterday I blank go to the park." Students then fill in the blank with the correct word, which is went. This kind of short activity is very helpful because it shows which students understand the grammar rules and which students need more practice. Mini quizzes like this are quick and easy to give. They can be done in class in just a few minutes. Teachers can look at the answers right away and give feedback to help students improve. Even though it is short, this activity can tell a lot about students' grammar skills. It helps teachers decide what to teach next and how to support each student. You can also change the sentences for different tenses or different grammar points. This makes mini quiz flexible and useful for many lessons. Here is another example of a classroom activity to assess grammar and vocabulary. In this activity, students describe a picture. For example, the teacher might show a photo of a family having a picnic. Students could say, "The family is sitting on the grass, they are eating sandwiches." This activity is useful because it checks both grammar and vocabulary at the same time. For grammar, students practice the present continuous tense, and for vocabulary, they use words about food, family members, and actions. Teachers can also adapt this activity for different levels. For beginners, you could give some words or sentence starters to help them speak. For more advanced students, you could ask them to make longer sentences or describe more details in the pictures. How could you change this activity for beginners or advanced students? Activities like this give teachers a clear picture of what students can do with language, and they are also fun and interactive for the students. They encourage students to speak, think, and use words correctly in real situations. Here is a third example of assessing vocabulary in the classroom. In this activity, students keep a vocabulary journal. Each week, they write down 5 new words, their meanings, and sentences using those words. For example, a student might write word exciting, sentence, "I am excited to go on a trip." This activity helps students in several ways. First, it encourages them to remember new words. Second, it gives them practice in using the word naturally in sentence, not just memorizing definitions. Teachers can also review the journals to see which words students understand and which words they need more help with. You can even ask students to share their sentence with the class, which gives them a chance to practice speaking as well. Vocabulary journals are flexible. For beginners, teachers can give simpler words or sentence starters. For advanced students, they can challenge them to write longer sentences or include more details. Overall, this activity is a great way to connect vocabulary learning with real language use, helping students improve step by step. Now let us look at how we can combine grammar and vocabulary in assessments. In real life, students do not use grammar or vocabulary separately. They use them together when they speak or write, so assessments should also look at both at the same time. For example, you can ask students to write a short story. They need to use correct grammar and the new vocabulary words they have learned. Another option is to have students describe a picture or act out a short dialogue, which also checks grammar and vocabulary together. Combining grammar and vocabulary gives teachers a better pictures of what students can do with the language. It also makes assessment more meaningful because students are showing real communication skills, not just memorization. Question: can you think of other activities where students use grammar and vocabulary at the same time? This approach helps students use language more naturally and builds their confidence in speaking and writing. Here is another classroom example that focuses on speaking and using language naturally. In this activity, students work in pairs to role-play a short situation, such as ordering food at a restaurant. One student acts as the waiter and the other is the customer. They practice using complete sentence, correct grammar, and vocabulary related to food, polite requests, and questions. This type of task is very useful because it checks how well students can use both grammar and vocabulary in real conversation. It is also interactive and fun, which helps students feel more confident speaking. Teachers can adjust to the difficulty based on students' level. For beginners, you might give a simple menu or sentence starters. For more advanced students, you can ask them to add more details, ask questions, or handle unexpected situations in the role play. After the activity, teachers can give feedback on grammar, vocabulary, and how smoothly students spoke. Role plays like this give a lot of information about students' real language skills and help them improve step by step. Here is an example of a simple rubric that teachers can use to assess grammar, vocabulary, and communication. The rubric has three main criteria: grammar, vocabulary, and communication. For grammar, excellent means students make few or no mistakes. Good means some mistakes, and needs improvement means many mistakes. For vocabulary, excellent means students use rich and varied words. Good means their word choice is adequate, and needs improvement means they use limited words. For communication, excellent means the student is clear and easy to understand. Good means understandable, and needs improvement means it is hard to understand. Using rubber helps students see exactly where they are doing well and where they can improve. It also makes grading fair and consistent because the expectations are clear. Teachers can share the rubric before an activity so students know what to focus on, and then use it to give helpful feedback after the task. This way, students learn from their mistakes and improve over time. Another way to make grammar and vocabulary assessment more effective is to use visuals and tools. Pictures, video, or short clips can make learning and assessment easier and more fun. For example, you can show a picture and ask students, "What do you see?" or "What is happening in the picture?" These questions encourage students to speak in complete sentences using correct grammar and vocabulary. For example, if you show a picture of children play soccer, a student must say, "The children are kicking the ball, they are running on the field." Using visual also helps students who are beginners or who may struggle with reading. It gives them context and clues about what to say. For more advanced students, you can ask them to describe the picture in more detail or make up a story about it. Overall, pictures and videos make assessment interactive, give students practice with real language, and help teachers see how well students can use grammar and vocabulary in natural situations. Let us take a moment to review the key ideas from today's presentation. First, we learned that grammar and vocabulary work best when taught and tested together. In real communication, students need both at the same time. Second, it's important to use both formative and summative assessments. Formative assessments help teachers give feedback, while students are learning, and summative assessments show what students have learned at the end of a unit. Third, authentic tasks like role plays, pictures descriptions, or writing activities show students' real ability to use language. They are more meaningful than just memorizing rules. Fourth, using rubber and feedback helps students see where they are doing well and where they can improve. Feedback guides students to grow and build confidence in their language skills. Now, a question for you. Which of these ideas do you already use in your classroom? Which ones would you like to try next? This key takeaway can help us plan lessons and assessments that truly support students' grammar and vocabulary development. Now let us practice with a few peer questions. These questions help you think about what we learned today. Question 1. Which activity is an authentic assessment? A. Grammar quiz. B. Vocabulary worksheet. C. Writing a paragraph about a favorite activity. D. Spelling test. The answer is C. Writing a paragraph, because students are using language in a real context. Question 2. What is one challenge in vocabulary assessment and how can we fix it? A simple answer could be, students may memorize new words but forget how to use them correctly. Teachers can give writing or speaking tasks that let students practice using the new words. Question 3. Which assessments helps teachers adjust lessons while students are learning? A. Formative. B. Summative. C. Standardized. D. Placement. The answer is A. Formative, because it gives feedback during the learning process. Question 4. Describe one activity that checks both grammar and vocabulary. A simple answer could be storytelling using pictures. This checks both word choice and sentence structure while students speak or write. These peer questions are a simple way to review key ideas and think about how to apply them in your own classroom. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching my presentation about assessing grammar and vocabulary. I hope this session gives you some idea for a new way to assess your students in a way that is fair, meaningful, and helps them grow. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one last question. What is one idea from today that you might try in your classroom? Remember, the goal of assessment is not just to give grades. It is to help students use grammar and vocabulary in real life, build confidence, and improve step by step. Thank you so much for your time, your attention, and your commitment to supporting your students. I hope you can take this idea back to your classroom and try them out.